Hello my friends, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be telling you about the 3 books I read in January 2022. They are the last 3 books that I will be reading from the year 2020. It has been a long time coming, but I finally read all 30, and just so you know, I will not be releasing a video next weekend. I will be filming a video, which is my ranking video of all 30 of these horror and thriller books that were released in 2020. And so I'm going to be premiering that on Valentine's Day. So be sure you come in and you can hang out with me for a little bit. See what I thought about all these books, what order they're going to be in, and what's going to be the top tier. So be sure you tune in for that. Come and be my Valentine. Grab some wine, some chocolates. So starting this month, I'm only going to be doing 3 videos a month. There are going to be my wrap-ups, my most anticipated releases for the current month, and also some like author spotlights. That'll probably start in April. The end of this month will be my last video in my little mini series, which is picking 5 2021 titles to read. I have already picked 4. If you have not watched them, I would recommend you go do so. They're usually a lot of fun, and I have had a lot of fun filming them and deciding on them. They're always super hard to narrow down to just 1 out of 10 choices. But yes, I am looking forward to finishing that up, getting all those books and reading them in March. So with all that out of the way, let's get into the titles that I read in January. So coming in 3rd place is going to be Eden by Tim Lebbon. So this story is set in a near future where global warming has pretty much ravaged the earth, and in a last-ditch effort to save the earth and humanity, we have given 13 huge areas back to nature. Humans are not allowed there, and Eden is the oldest of the virgin zones, and of course there's going to be some people that don't abide by the rules, right? So we have this small group of adventure seekers who are runners and go into these places to try to compete against other teams, I guess you could say. Not at the same time, but like they're trying to set records and stuff. And so this small group of about 7 decide to go off to Eden, which has been around for about 50 plus years. And it is the most untamed place in the world. So it starts off with our group of 7 racers who are on a small aircraft. They're going to Eden, and it's pretty fast-paced at first. They are led into Eden by this person who, gets paid to do so, to sneak them in, because all these virgin zones are heavily guarded, and so they are trying to sneak in, and they finally do, and once they are there, things take a little while to actually become serious. It's not until about the 200-page mark out of 350 pages when they realize what is actually going on and the real danger begins. The writing was not the greatest. I mean, this is definitely not a character-driven story. It is all plot, and it's very simplistic in its writing style, which is fun. It's just, it got a little tedious in the middle, but I had a pretty good time with it, I guess. It's not the worst thing I've ever read. So if you don't mind a plot-heavy story, then check this one out. It did have some pretty good moments in it. There are a few scenes that are kind of graphic, which is great. But I will say, I thought there would be more like, I don't know, maybe like alive plants or something in this place, but that was not the case. There is a deity that resides in Eden who is there to kind of protect it and kills anyone that gets in its way. If that sounds like your cup of tea, then I would highly suggest reading it. So coming in 2nd place is going to be The Boatman's Daughter by Andy Davidson. Now this is a story about a girl whose father died, and she is protecting like an old witch and this not quite human child, and she's ferrying contraband for this sickly old preacher and like a one-eyed constable, and it was pretty good. I will say the writing style was not for me personally. It felt like everything was way overly described, very purpley, purple prose. Of course, I was sick when I was reading this, and so maybe that affected it in a way, but it was an okay story. I wish there had been more interactions between the villains, and so we could find out why they are, together other than they're running like a drug ring. But the backstory we get for Miranda, who is the Boatman's daughter, is pretty good. I liked Miranda. She's a strong female character. She doesn't take any crap from any of these evil men, and she is not afraid to defend herself and those that she loves. So I'm glad I finally read it. I had been putting this off for months and months. It was a little long, but it was a good story with great characters. So I would definitely recommend you checking this one out. But my absolute favorite for this month is going to be Devil's Creek by Todd Keisling. So this story was published by Silver Shamrock Publishing. It is the second title that I have read from them, and I have loved both of them. So if you have not checked out any titles from Silver Shamrock, I would suggest doing so. This is not sponsored, by the way. So in this story, this takes place back in the early 80s at first. It is about this mad preacher who has found God below the earth. And he has formed this cult church out in the woods on Devil's Creek Road, outside of a Kentucky town called Stafford, something like that. And he has had 6 different children with 6 different women, and the sole purpose of them being alive is so that he can sacrifice these kids to the God and bring heaven on earth. But when this story starts out, the grandparents of these children are on their way to this church to stop it, and it is very intense, and it is so well written. I loved it. So then we fast forward 30 years. All the kids are grown up, and we take a dive into their lives. The main character's grandmother died, and so he has to come back and settle her estate. And so he meets up with his half-siblings, and weird things start happening around the town. It is very town-focused. If you are into small-town dramas and horror stories, then definitely pick up this one. It is filled with so much WTF moments that I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I don't want to say too much else about it, but it is so good. Everything is interwoven superbly. And yes, definitely a great religion horror cult story, and it will not disappoint you. The preacher in this one is much crazier than the one in The Boatman's Daughter, so I would definitely recommend you pick up Devil's Creek. So that's it. Short and sweet. That is the last wrap up for 2020 releases. I cannot believe it's over. Like, I have spent almost 2 years of my life planning on doing this, and the next video will be a culmination of all that, and I'm super excited about it. I hope you will come back and check that video out. It might be a little bit of a longer video, but we're just going to take our time and go through all these titles one more time, put them in the order in which I like the least to the best, and give some honorable mentions, and just have a good time. And that's why we're here, just to have a good time talking about books. So be sure you come back next time, and until then, keep turning those pages. Bye!